4:30, I'm come and gone. I would like to call this meeting of the Administration Public Works Committee to order. We have a quorum. First, Alderman Fleming, would you mind making the motion for suspension of the rules allowing for remote participation?
Yeah, I move we suspend the rules and suspend the in-person meeting attendance requirements for public meeting due to COVID-19 due to the executive order issued by J.B. Pritzker. City council members and city staff will be participating in this meeting remotely.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, let's hold it up.
Alderman Sufferton.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Rue Simmons. Doesn't appear to be here yet.
Join us, yeah. All right, so on a vote of 4-0, that item passes. Moving on to approval of the minutes of the regular Administration Public Works Committee meeting of January 25th, 2021. I move approval of the minutes of the regular Administration Public Works Committee meeting of January 25th, 2021. Staff recommends approval of the minutes of the regular Administration Public Works Committee of January 25th, 2021. Good afternoon, Alderman Rue Simmons. This is for action. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes from January 25th? If not, let's take a vote.
Alderman Sufferton.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Rue Simmons.
Aye.
On a 5-0 vote, the minutes of the January 25th, 2021 meeting have been approved. We'll move now to public comment. There are 5 people signed up for public comment. First up is Mike Soko. Mike, take it away. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I forwarded my notes in advance last Friday. Really hasn't changed too much. Bills list. I'd like some kind of explanation why, if this is their last invoice, you should be deducting roughly $500,000 and a penalty for the Bullion Andrews Robert Crown Center invoice. They're in for like $2 million, and to the best of my knowledge, they never indicated that they met. There's no documentation in the packet that shows that they met the MBE, WBE goals or the LEP requirement, the local business requirement, employment requirement for the project. So that was a penalty of $500,000 that I recall the city's MBE committee saying that they were going to impose, and that should be explained. And if there's backup information that shows otherwise, that should be circulated before you approve this payment. A7, well, this actually relates to the bills list. It's the same thing where I'm saying, the city is saying, or somebody at the city is saying, they complied with 17.6%, which is much higher than I had seen before in the last meeting that I attended. And once again, there should be documentation to the fact that they've met that requirement, or there should be certified payroll or something that shows all of this, and nothing's included in the packet. So again, I just suggest that the payment for $2 million should be held until you get that documentation. Aldermen shouldn't sign off on that kind of money without the proper documentation. I'll ask for the 47th time. If there's going to be any signs or any kind of warnings or regarding the health and environmental warnings for parents whose children use the fields at Robert Crown, that should be part of what the city does. Just at the very least to provide some information so parents know what their children are playing on. why would the city again borrow another $14 million to pay for a previous bond? This is something that goes on over and over again, and that kind of practice should stop. That's out of A9. Is that it? Am I out of time?
Just conclude quickly, go for it. Man.
The last one, I don't know if you talk about E1 at this meeting. If you do, then here again, I'm sorry. E1?
No. So that'll be at council.
All right, thank you.
Right, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Carlos Sutton. Mr. Sutton, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening to all the aldermen and Mr. Stonebrecker. I'm commenting this evening on Article A 13, Ordinance 4021 in opposition. I am requesting that the aldermen do not forward this to the city council as a result of this meeting based upon the following concerns. One, the concern of notification. One-day article in the Tribune is not sufficient information for the residents and constituents to consider a development of this importance in our community. Number two, funding coalitions that have religious organizations. I have a very strong concern about the city being involved with church and state. Previous Black churches have not gotten any assistance from the city when they tried to do previous kinds of investments and developments, mainly Ebenezer and Springfield. And I suggest that the city maintains their precedent and keep church and state separate. Third, again, we're calling for variances of a building that requires zoning changes. If you would spend as much time on trying to enforce the zoning changes that are on the book, rather than every time a developer comes, you feel it's necessary to change the zoning, to me, you condemn us in our community for spot zoning, but yet you seem to approve it for other people. I think you as elected officials ought to be aware of the kinds of damage that you do to property owners and their investments in this community. So do not take action and do not forward this A1021 to City Council until further, 1, notification to citizens, 2, find out how much they're gonna fund this without help of the city, and 3, no variances in zoning violations. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Carlos. Appreciate it. And next up on the list is Priscilla Giles. Giles, you have 3 minutes. Nice.
Yes, I'd like to speak on the A13. It seems that the pandemic has been an opportunity, has given the city council an opportunity to rush through developers' projects in the city without residents' input. The Darrow and Church project is another lost chance for the residents to have the long needed and request to have a building that would teach and train those who would have the opportunity to have a livable wage. Those who could learn bricklaying, carpentry, and the other trades as they get union cards. This is something that has been asked for the last time. We got housing at Foster, and that was a perfect place for it because it was already a place that was doing that. And now we have another chance to have it, and it seems like we're rushing through to keep from having that kind of thing that we need so much in Evanston. Not just more housing for the wealthy, but opportunity for people to keep their houses and to have a place to build. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. I appreciate it. Next up is Jamie Robin Collier. How are you? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks. First of all, I want to thank all of you who sit on this committee for your steadfast efforts during the marathon budget season last year to reduce the need to raise property taxes. During that effort, the question was raised whether reducing capital spending could reduce property taxes. And because the bonds had already been issued, the debt service, and thus property tax, was fixed for 2021. In the staff's November 11th memo on debt, they indicated that issuing $7.6 million of tax-supported debt would add $532,000 to the property tax burden in 2022 and future years. Resolution 16R21, item A9, proposes $8.6 million in tax-supported bonds, bringing the additional tax burden to over $600,000 a year. So, given that all of you are very concerned about the property tax burden, I would urge this committee to table this resolution and ask staff to submit an updated plan that considers postponing the tax issuance to 2020 for the following reasons. Number one, capital projects were delayed in 2020 and funds underspent in many functions of the city. The pandemic's ongoing, so there's no reason to believe planned capital projects will not be underspent again and not draw on their capital budgets. The second, and more importantly, is that capital fund balances across the city are currently higher than amounts proposed to be raised by bond issuance. Rather than pay interest on the bonds that funded these balances, reduce the currently uncommitted balances. For example, the motor fuel tax was expected to end 2020 at $3.16 million. As of November, the last report we have, it sits at $4.14 million. The Capital Improvement Fund is projected to end 2021 at $9.4 million. And as of November, it's at $12.6 million. The Water Fund is also projected to end 2021 at almost $10 million. The Parking Fund, as of November, is sitting at $2.18 million. The Chicago Main TIF Fund is projected to end at $1.6 million, more than the proposed spending for 2021. And the Capital Fund is also projected to end at $835,000, more than enough to cover their $430,000 in projected capital spending. And in fact, as of November, it sits almost at $1.3 million. So it's apparent that there are lots of balances that could be used as opposed to issuing new debt. And I would recommend that the city staff consider a plan to do that instead of issuing the debt this year and postpone it a year. And the third reason is there's a concern, the major concern of the rating agencies is that the long-term debt, as well as the pension funds, are a concern, the major concern to the rating agencies. And by doing this, this would indicate that the city was being prudent and put itself in a better position to go forward. And the last reason is that in another month or so, we should have the final balances for the funds as of year end, and would give us a better picture for what our actual funding needs are and whether we're in a good shape in terms of the general fund balance.
Thank you, Jim.
All together.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're over time.
Good. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then our final speaker is Tina Payton. Tina, welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well. I would like to oppose item number A13. I agree with the previous speakers, and we need notice. This is not something that the community wanted, and I don't believe that you should be doing land sales when the project has not been set forward in front of the council, plan commission, or anything like that. And we don't even know if the plan would be approved or paid for. So always it's a concern talking about affordable units here in Evanston. So Sarah Flax at the Housing and Homelessness Commission last week made a great presentation and talked about affordable units in market rate developments. So between the years 2003 and 2021, the city has approved in 18 years 77 units only at 50% AMI to 120% AMI. The Omni, 214 units. The Albion, 268 units. The Avador, 169 units. The Link, 242 units. E2, 356 units. 1717 Ridge, 175 units. Centrum, 101 units. The Main, 112 units. 1555 Ridge, 68 units. The Mather, 222 units. The Central, 47 units. The Grand Bend, 49 units. The Marion, 65 units. 828 Lofts, 44 units. 1815 Ridge, 163 units. And that is totaling 2,285 units just for 15 buildings that the council has approved in the last few years. And only you have come up with 77 units in 18 years. Where is the money and where is the help for families? You pretend that you want to do affordable housing work and you have no units in here for families that are over 2 people. These units are single person studios, 1 bedrooms. You have a couple of 2 bedrooms sprinkled here and there. That is a disgrace in 18 years that we have only come up with 77 affordable units. I think this is just a disgrace. All these buildings that you are talking about that are going to be put up for affordable units, it's just a farce. We need to stop this. This building that is supposedly going to be built on Church and Darrell was not something that we asked for. A project was I'm saying my last line, Alderman. The time before at Church and Darrell, when there was a project supposed to be put up there for affordable units, was denied, and it should be denied again. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And then Dave, just to confirm, is there anybody else signed up for public comment, or is that all?
No, no one else is signed up.
All right. If everyone will take a look, we can move on to the consent calendar. And if they have items they wish to have pulled, please let me know. I'd like to pull item A2. If anybody else has an item they would like to pull. Yeah, Alderman Braithwaite.
I'd like to remove item, pardon me 1 second. It's
A13. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All right, that's the same.
A9 and A10.
A9, A10.
Did you get A13, Alderman Sufferton?
Yes, we have pulled items A2, A13, A9, and A10. Is there any?
What I'm looking for the crown item. Is that one pulled also?
A7.
A7. All right, we'll pull item A7 also. If there are no other ones, why don't we move the consent agenda? Alderman Simmons, would you mind doing that?
Move approval for the consent.
Okay.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. This is approval of the consent agenda with the exception of items A2, A7, A9, A10, and A13. Mr. Stoneback, if you take the roll.
Alderman Suffredin,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming,
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
On a 5-0 vote, the consent agenda with the items that were pulled passes. Moving on, Alderman Simmons, do you mind moving item A2?
I'm sorry, did you say me?
Oh, yes, please. Item
Yeah,
A2.
sure. A2, staff recommends city council approval of the city of Evanston's BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity for the period ending December 26, 2020, in the amount of $6,400.64. I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. If there's no discussion, come back to the-
Alderman Suffredin,
I abstain.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming,
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
All right, on a vote of 4-0 with one abstention, item A2 passes. Moving on, item A7, Robert Crown Community Center Local Employment Program status. Staff recommends City Council accept and place on file the Robert Crown Community Center Local Employment Program status update. This is for action. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
There is, and I wanted to, I don't know if there's any staff here to help with the report, but I shared the concerns mentioned in public comment of our workforce having access to workforce opportunities as a result of this Crown project. And there were supplemental projects created and shared with our workforce to reach compliance. And if we could have a staff person speak to where we landed with that. We had a report at our last MWEBE committee, and I think it would be important for us to have just a brief update of that at this meeting, if there's any staff available.
That's probably Sharon Johnson. If not, there's some highlighted numbers in the memo. I'm assuming she might be on the call, but
Good afternoon.
There
This
she
is
is.
Sharon Johnson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. We did land at 17.6% compliance with the supplemental projects that Alderman Ruth Simmons mentioned. We had just a few projects that landed us at 17.6. The hours were a little over 167 for the total projects, and I can't remember, I don't have the memo offhand. The Evanston hours were compliant with the projects that were combined with the Robert Crown project.
So Sharon, the total hours to you and Alderman Simmons is 29,547 hours. And when you add up the total salaries paid to Evanston residents, and I want to be clear that that's with Crown as well as the other project site, that dollar amount is $1.3 million and 68 exactly.
That's a minimum conservative amount, going with the $44 an hour for each Evanston resident. There were some positions that were more than $44 an hour. I used $44 an hour as just the standard for the majority of positions that were on the Crown project. For example, we had some electricians who were available who were Evanston residents, and electricians make roughly $56 to $58 an hour. So I did not use that figure. I used a conservative $44, which is what the laborers used.
So thank you. I just wanted to lift that up because, of course, I had concerns about our workforce having opportunity, and I want to thank you for working with the contractor and our community and the workforce to get us to a compliant number. I think what should be highlighted here is the opportunity for expanding workforce opportunities, and I'm sure our partners are working on ways that we can expand workforce training so that we can have our local workforce working on these projects and them not have to go outside our community. So again, Sharon, I want to thank you for seeing to it that we did meet our goal, and we did bring in over $1 million in income to our residents in Evanston. This doesn't include, I should note, the work, Sharon, that you did to get additional small business, local vendors, other small businesses in town to have an opportunity to work with Bullion Andrews and the Robert Crown property as well. I don't think that number, there's even a value on the additional revenue that was generated in the city. So although I would have preferred that it was all performed at Robert Crown with the due diligence of the vendor as well as Sharon Johnson and her team, there are some trades that we don't have the workforce for in town. And so I hope that we can develop that over time.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Great job, Sharon, and the team, as well as the members of our MWEB committee. Just for those listening, and I see your hand, Alderman Rainey, my apologies if I jumped ahead of you. We met with them, Alderman Simmons, what, about 4 or 5 times throughout the life of this project, just keeping track and holding them accountable. So good job to our staff. Thank you.
Alderman Rainey and Alderman Fine, did you have your hand up too? Okay. Alderman
Thank you
Rainey.
very much. Sharon, reading the report, which I thought was really extensive, it has to be said that Bully Andrews did everything humanly possible to get the trades to refer Evanston union workers to this job. There just weren't any available in the various trades that we needed, with a few exceptions. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, you did
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I believe they had a total of 15 various trades that they were looking for, primary trades in Evanston as it stands right now with the workforce that we currently have are laborers and carpenters. We have a few exceptions with plumbers and iron workers. For example, the one iron worker who was available that lives in Evanston was not available because he was on a 3-year project in Hoffman Estates. So he declined to participate. And that was the exception.
So what we learned from that is a lot of our people who were not available were employed elsewhere, which is a very good thing. But it also sent us looking for other avenues to find people to help in other ways, which Alderman Simmons talked about, which, I mean, in the long run, it worked out fine. It would have been good to find the high-priced people to put on the job from Evanston, but they were already working someplace else. And, you can't find these people, and I mean FINE, find Bully and Andrews, because the people that they needed in the trades were already employed elsewhere. For example, the guy on the 3-year job in Schaumburg or wherever. I mean, good for him, right?
That was the exception to the rule, which is why we did develop the internal SOAR program for the apprentice as well. That did have to supplement in some cases for some of the workforce who was not available.
Right. So we created something out of the problem. We made some lemonade.
That's correct.
Good for you. Thank you so much for all your work on this.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else? If not, the action requested is to approve and place on file.
Second.
All right.
If you need a second.
Yeah, second.
It's been moved and seconded. So, Mr. Stoneback, if you want to.
Alderman Sufferton, Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming,
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Item 87 has been. Item 89 is Resolution 16R21, reimbursement of expenditures from general obligation bond issuance. Staff recommends City Council adoption of Resolution 16R21, authorizing payments relating to fiscal year 2020 capital improvement plan project expenditures up to $14,205,000 be reimbursed by the subsequent 2021 general obligation bond issuance. Capital projects will be funded by future bond proceeds. This is for action. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Yes, Dave.
There's a typo in the recommended action. It refers to fiscal year 2020 in the second line, and it is actually for fiscal year 2021.
Okay. All right. So,
Authorizing payments relating to the FY 2021 capital improvement.
okay, I got it. Do you need me to reread the heading there, or are we good with that clarification? Sorry, Nick.
I'm sorry, could you
Are we good to go, or do I need to reread that?
reread on A9?
Yes.
I don't believe you need to. I heard David say that there was a typo
Yes.
Yes.
in the resolution.
It says 2020, fiscal year 2020 capital improvement plan is in fact fiscal year 2021 capital improvement.
Right. I don't think that it needs to be, as long as the motion is for 2021, it should be no problem.
Okay. Right. Thank you, sir. Get it? All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. It has been moved and seconded and is open for discussion. Alderman Fleming?
Yeah, I have a question I see attached here. So Jamie Collier has, we've seen her many times, and she brings up some points that I think we should discuss. So regarding the point she brought up with the funds that have overages, I think the time she gave was November, so I'm assuming you have new numbers. But can you just explain what we're doing here for the public and why we cannot, or your rationale for not using the overages that she mentioned, if in fact they are still overages currently?
Okay. Good evening, Chairman, members of the committee. Yeah, Alderman Fleming. So first, what is this reimbursement resolution? Because when we issue the bonds, generally it is late summer or even the fall, but the projects would kick in. So if we spend money for the 2021 capital projects, it would be paid out of the other funds, existing surplus of the capital projects or water funds or parking fund. And once we issue the bonds and get the proceeds, we can reimburse out of that bond proceeds. So this is a typical thing, reimbursement resolution. We generally do it every year, right around January, February for this purpose. Now, second thing, some of those funds have a balance right now, but we are still paying the old bills. We are just in the beginning of the February. And so we haven't you would see a lot healthy balances, whether in cash terms or, but we still have to pay a lot of bills in capital projects. Crown construction was a big one last year. Like I looked at the last year, fiscal 19, we were showing like $9 million as a payables in Crown, $4 million in CIP. So we still have to pay this because in CIP, we issue the bonds based on the project. So it's just a matter of timing by the time cash hits. So we will be showing and carrying the balances, but ultimately it is for the projects.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further questions or discussion? Alderman Rainey.
Well, I mean, if you just look at our bills tonight, we paid $3 million for bills from, January 4th. And we do, and every now and then in the middle of February, we'll see bills from December. So we slow pay sometimes. So I understand that. But we don't know what those bills are right now, right? I mean, you could have told us that we had this question earlier, right?
I mean, sometimes we get the estimates, because we are working on the audit. So we ask the department, for what is the estimated bills for Crown, where the work is done, but we haven't paid that. And we got the estimate and we have to book that as a part of our audit. Same way we worked with the other department to get the bills outstanding for the work done in 2020 in other funds, like parking fund, water fund,
Right.
sewer fund.
Yeah. I mean, we sometimes get billed very late. I mean, we
Yes.
see, yeah, we do. Yeah.
And particularly for the infrastructure projects, yes, sometimes it's late.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Item A9. If not, why don't we go ahead and take a vote?
Alderman Sufferton,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming,
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
All right, so on a 5-0 vote, item A9 passes. That brings us to item A10. Hello, Kumar. Resolution 22R21, authorizing the city manager to enter into a master agreement services to an aggregated group with MC Squared Energy Services LLC. This is for action. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Does anybody have questions or comments? Alderman Fleming.
Yeah, Kumar, I just have a question because I've had several residents who will call about Dynergy when they realize they're enrolled into Dynergy. And so you can just kind of give a high level of what this is, how it, if we will still have Dynergy or not, and then assuming there's going to be some public education around enrolling into this one as your alternate.
Yeah, absolutely. So good evening, Chair of the committee, members of the committee, Kumar Jensen, Chief Sustainability and Resilience Officer. So this is the city's, this is a new agreement for the city's aggregation program, which we've had since 2012. And we've had it in place. We've alternated, or not quite alternated, but shifted back from doing 1-year agreements to 3-year agreements. In our current supplier, as you mentioned, Alderman Fleming, is Dynergy Energy Services. We signed a 36-month agreement with them back in 2016, and then a 10-month extension with them earlier in the middle of 2020 to give us time to issue an RFP to develop a different style program. So essentially, what we're doing, we're offering a different type of aggregation program than we've done in the past. In the past, the type of program that people have participated in, the companies that we were requesting prices from would give us a fixed rate for whatever amount of time we asked them for. So we'd ask them for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, 48, 50, or 48 and 60, all these really long terms. And then we would just compare their prices and whether or not they would be able to give us renewable energy and whether or not those prices were a cost savings compared to ComEd's price, right? Because what we're trying to do is provide Evanston residents with 100% renewable energy, but also do it in a way that doesn't come at a cost premium. I mean, ideally, we'd like to see a cost savings for participation in this program. So to answer your first question, we will no longer, if council votes to approve this agreement, our aggregation supplier will switch from Dynergy to MC Squared. And so the enrollment process will look very similar to what it's looked in the past, where MC Squared will send out letters, an opt-out notice is what it's called, to all all participating and potentially eligible customers, and they will have the opportunity to opt in if they do nothing, or to opt out affirmatively. So by sending their postcard back or to MC Squared, or calling them and letting them know in some other way. And so that's sort of the basic way that this type of program works, and the one that we have set up for Evanston operates. The program that city staff are recommending this evening is slightly different than that typical, well, it's actually very different from the standard program. The opt-in and opt-out process is the same. There's no fee. People can opt in and out whenever they would like, pretty much. But the difference is that in the program approach that we're recommending, it's called the ComEd Price Match Offer. Instead of having alternative energy suppliers give fixed price, what they actually do is they agree to match ComEd's price, or they call their price to compare, throughout the duration of the contract for any customer that participates. So what they're essentially doing is guaranteeing no Evanston resident is going to pay a premium for participating in the program, but they're also not guaranteeing or offering a savings. And so what we did this year is we asked for both. We said, we'd like to compare. We'd like to see what's the fixed price, and is that going to offer a savings compared to our historical agreement? And is it going to provide a savings or a cost premium compared to what ComEd's offering and what we know, which is not a very long time horizon, usually just about 6 to 12 months. And then we said, if that program comes back and those prices look higher than what ComEd's offering, we should have another option for residents that is not going to come at a cost premium. And so that's where we come in with this ComEd price match offer. And in that program, the primary differences are that everyone pays the ComEd price match price. Some customers are just staying with ComEd and paying that price. And other customers, which the alternative supplier believes that they can serve at a cost savings, are actually enrolled in the aggregation program. But I think one of the big caveats here, anyone can ask to be enrolled into the aggregation program. No one's going to be prohibited from participating if they would like to. And then the other thing that comes with the ComEd price match program is what's called a civic contribution. And so based on the number of, or the length of our agreement, MC Squared has offered to provide different amounts of this civic contribution to the city that is paid essentially 3 months after each term. So in a 12-month agreement, you would get it in the 15-month, you would get that payment of that civic contribution. And that civic contribution can be used really for whatever the city would like to use it for. So one of the primary uses is we'd like to use it to purchase renewable energy. But there's a lot of other things that we'd like to use that for, including supporting low-income residents with paying utility bills, as we've started to do with some of our other energy agreements. We think there's some staffing support that we could use that for. We could be providing incentives or workforce development opportunities in training to Evanston residents. So we're trying to look at this as a different model of aggregation program that we think allows us to better meet a variety of our goals and not just that 100% renewable energy goal.
All right, so you will be in touch with people. I mean, again, my bigger concern was people who call and then they're opted into Dynergy.
Yes.
So there will be some kind of campaign before this launches to let people know how to opt in or out of the new program, what to do if they're already
correct.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, everyone gets that. We'll put out press releases we've done in the past. The letter that goes out has our logo on it. Because we approve it, so it looks different than other energy solicitations that people may get. And then I actually receive all the calls through 311. So whenever people do call and have questions, I get those and work them out, or work with our account rep to work this out.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right, is there any other questions on this one? If not, I think we're good to take a vote, Mr. Stoneback. Thank you, Kumar, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alderman Sufferton,
Yes, sir.
Alderman Rainey.
No.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was an aye. And Alderman Rainey, I apologize, I talked over you.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming,
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
All right, so a 5-0 vote, item 810, resolution 22R21, authorizing the city manager to enter into a master agreement to provide services to an aggregated group with MC Squared Energy Services LLC passes the Administration and Public Works Committee. That brings us to item A13, Alderman Moose.
Yes, A13. About that. Am I off mute? Yes, I am. A13, the Economic Development Committee and staff recommend City Council adopt Ordinance 4021, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a purchase and sales agreement with an entity to be created by Mount Pisgah Ministry Incorporated and the Housing Opportunity Development Corporation for the new city-owned property located at 1805 Church Street and 1708 through 10 Darrow Avenue for redevelopment as mixed-use, mixed-income housing. I move approval for introduction and action.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Alderman Simmons.
Thank you, Alderman Sufferton. This is a project that has been a goal for the community to develop for years. Initially, I believe it's been almost 20 years ago. If not, it's close to 20 years ago. There was a unsuccessful attempt at affordable housing development. Since then, we have worked through multiple automatic terms to acquire the lots that were privately owned. Through the good work of our legal department, we were able to accomplish that so that we can look at a better use for a underutilized lot in a part of our community that needs investment. It needs housing, it needs commercial space as well. We held a community meeting where we did receive feedback, and we have a partner in Mount Pisgah Ministry that's been at that corner for decades, along with an experienced affordable housing developer. We had a request for qualifications, and both responses were responsive. And the great news is that the both the Mount Pisgah Ministries and the Housing Development Company have decided to partner, and they will develop a new entity to bring forth a development in line with the goals of our ward, which will include housing and first floor commercial development. There's a long road ahead, and this request is only for our city manager to enter into negotiation. There will be months of public process ahead after this if it is approved today. And I'm asking that you support this effort on behalf of Mount Pisgah Ministry and Housing Opportunity Development Corporation for them to advance to the next step of a long process that is ahead of them.
All right, is there any other discussion? If not, I think we're good to take a vote. The vote on suspension of the rules will happen at council.
And I'm sorry, if you had any other questions, I did see that Paul Zonderczak is here, and he can answer any detailed questions if there are any for staff. And Paul, if I missed anything, will you please jump in? And
thank you, Alderman. You did a great job. You summarized it very well. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. In that case, I think we're good to vote. Or all in favor? Sorry.
Yeah, just for clarification, since this was brought up on the phone and we have Nick on the phone. Nick, can you just speak to the separation of church and state, since it was brought up, so we don't have confusion?
Thank you.
Regarding, Mount Pisgah being involved here.
Sure. So my understanding, based upon reading what's been presented, is that they are one of the entities, and I'm not sure if it's the entity that's going to be purchasing the lot. It's not so much that the city is endorsing or pushing a particular religion. That's the separation of church and state. The city is simply selling land to an entity that may be a religious entity.
And from Alderman Rusimas, what you said is the church is creating a partnership with Community Partners for Affordable Housing? Sorry, I can't remember which one it is.
It's right. It is it that one or? No, it is Housing Opportunity Development Corporation.
So they're creating another entity with these housing experts. So it would not be necessarily like the Mount Pisgah Affordable Housing Building or something.
Exactly. So it would be a new entity, a partnership entity. But I do want to lift up the important affordable housing partners that we have in the community in Ebenezer Church and Jacob Lake Manor and Ebenezer Prim Towers. Right. And I imagine there are others. I think even Reba has a
Reba, right? No,
Reba, that's yeah.
But I just wanted to clarify that before this gets started, so that as the process goes on, there's not confusion that we are, the separation of church and state piece is very clear with our legal department and as we move forward. But yes, Reba is
different if the city was in partnership to develop this project, but it's not. The city is selling the land to a private entity.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Paul. With that, I think we're good to take a vote. Mr. Stoneberg.
Alderman Sufferton.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Rusimas.
Aye.
All right. That is a 5-0 vote. And so item 813 passes. Are there any items for consideration?
Yeah. Alderman Sufferton, did we skip over item A4? I'd ask for that to be pulled.
All right, I apologize if we did. All right, item A4, approval of a contract renewal award with Clean Slate Chicago LLC for park mowing services. This is for action. Is there a second?
Second.
Hey, Nick, tell me what happened.
If it was not previously pulled, it's been approved already as part of the consent agenda by was a unanimous vote for consent agenda. So,
Well,
sorry, Nick, how do we get it back in play? Motion to reconsider, or what do you suggest?
it would be a motion to reconsider, but that's usually, yeah, I think a motion to reconsider would be the best.
All right.
so Nick, can I just ask for a little bit of privilege? Because just given the fact that we have staff here, I mean, I did ask for it, and I was waiting for him to go around, and I had my hand up. So I prefer to deal with that in committee. It's not so much, it's just the fact that we have all staff here. So if I can, whatever motion we need to take place to have a brief discussion, I'll be willing to move it.
Typically, a motion to reconsider is required, I think, by the moving side, but it was a unanimous vote to place it on consent agenda. And I could be wrong, but I just want to make sure that I just wanted to bring it to the chairperson's attention. So if you'd like to discuss it, and I just want to bring it to your attention.
Well, Alderman Braithwaite, do you want to?
Here, I guess I'll make my points, and I can hold it at the council level since I'm not going to get my questions answered here. This is just another example that it's a 20, and I can't find it right now. I passed over it in keeping up with the other.
Peter?
Yes, Alderman Rainey.
Alderman Sufferton, could you call on me? You can take it off the consent agenda at council.
Right, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to get some information from staff, because here it is, it's a 28, if I could just have a moment of privilege, it's a $26,000 project, and it's mowing lawns in Evanston. And I said it, I'm going to call it out every time I see it. Like, this is one of those opportunities that we would want to employ a local Evanston contractor. And I only see one person from Evanston responding. And unfortunately, and I'm glad to see the one, but I didn't even recognize the name. So the question in these situations, since we get peppered by our business community, is, are you sending them? And I want to know, like, and I'll ask Erica to turn on her mic, and Sharon and anyone else that's responsible for this. It's real simple. Like, what are we doing to prioritize our local businesses? And I don't want to go on a rant, but I said it, like, I'm going to be paying attention to this, and I'm sure the rest of the committee does as well. And if this is too big, then maybe it's one part a piece. Probably not ideal, but I would like some type of explanation when we get to council and understand who received this. And particularly, I'd like to know how many Evanston landscaping contractors were notified during this process. Thank you, Alderman Sufferton.
All right, is that good? Or all the members of staff that are here, that's enough of a sneak preview of what's coming up at council? You're good to know what information is being requested? Okay. All right, cool. Are there any other items for consideration? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Then do we need a roll call vote on that, Dave, or can we just?
Yeah.
Alderman Sufferton,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming,
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
All right, 5-0, we are good to adjourn. City Council is scheduled to start at 5:30. Thanks a lot. I appreciate all your help. Thanks, Nick. Thank you to everybody on staff.